If you shoot with a drone and you would like to create portrait format images, if you don't own one of the very few drone models that can actually rotate the camera into portrait format, you're going to have to shoot a series of images to create a vertical pano. So this is where you shoot horizontally, take a shot low down, kind of in the middle of the scene, and then higher up in the scene, and then we bring them together and create a portrait format image. And you can also create vertical panoramas with a standard camera. So the advantage of doing this is that you create ultra high resolution images that can be used to make larger prints. And the same goes for a kind of standard panoramic image. So you would shoot in portrait format and just shoot images side by side. And you can typically triple or quadruple the resolution of your camera by shooting this way. So here I have 4 drone shots taken of the same scene. So we have the first one here, which is the ground. The camera was moved up slightly. So we've got the kind of middle of the scene. Then the camera was moved up again. So we have what you might call the kind of standard shot. This could be an image in itself. And then we finally have a shot that's focusing on the sky. And then we can bring all of those together in Photoshop to make a portrait format image. So the first thing that you need to do is open up your images in Lightroom and just make sure that the processing is all identical. So what I would typically do is start on one of the shots like this. So this shot here that could be an image in itself because I've got a good mixture of the ground and the sky. So I would do all of my adjustments here first. Then I would hold down Control on the keyboard, or on a Mac, that would be the Command key. And then I would select the other images that make up that pano, hit the sync button, check all, and I'll leave masking off, and then I would hit synchronize. Then once that's done, it synchronizes the settings across those 4 images so they're identical. And then all that you need to do then is go through each one and make any adjustments that are necessary. So in this one here, I've dropped the exposure slightly, and then in this one here, I've just left it as is. With this one here, I have just added a very small mask to darken the sky. And then finally, in this shot here, I've also added a mask, but you'll see there that it's slightly larger because the sky occupies more of the image than the previous shot. So once all that's done and everything's looking good, we need to get these images exported so that we can open them up in Photoshop, because although Lightroom has the capability to create panoramic images, it can't handle vertical panos. Only Photoshop can do that. So with all of those 4 images selected, I'm going to hold down Control, Shift and E to export. So that would be Command, Shift and E on a Mac. And I'm going to left mouse click on my JPEG in Adobe 1998 preset on the left. So what that's doing is just creating a JPEG in the Adobe RGB color space at the full size. What I am going to do is where it says after export open in Photoshop, I'm going to set that to do nothing because I don't want the images to open in Photoshop. We need to load them in. So I'm just going to create a subfolder on my desktop, which I'm going to call Vertical Pano. And then once that's done, we can hit export and we can move on to the next step. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, ready to bring those 4 images together into one. And all that we need to do here is go up to File on the main menu, down to Automate, and select Photo Merge. And when the Photo Merge dialog opens, we're going to leave the layout set to auto because that works absolutely fine. Make sure that Blend Images Together is checked, which it is by default, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then where it says Source Files, Use, I am going to opt for Folder because it just means I select the folder that I created just a moment ago rather than having to select the individual images. So I'm just going to hit Browse, and that brings me to my desktop, and there is my vertical pano folder, and I just need to hit OK, and you'll see that those 4 images have been loaded in. Now, just going back a step or two, I exported my shots as JPEGs, but you can export them as TIFFs or Photoshop documents, whatever file type you would like to work with. Typically, I would work with 16-bit TIFFs that I would then downsize to 8-bit once all of my processing had been finished. But for the sake of speed, JPEGs work much quicker, which is better for a tutorial. So I'm just going to hit OK, and then Photoshop's going to do its magic, and we'll take a look at what it does. So here is our image, and it's looking pretty good. I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm just holding down the spacebar here to activate the hand tool so that I can scroll around. I just want to make sure that there aren't any mistakes. If there are, these can just be cloned over, but it's looking pretty good. So Control and 0 to see the whole image. That would be Command and 0 on a Mac. And then all that we need to do now is crop the shot down. So that's C on the keyboard to activate the crop tool. And then we're going to go to the ratio menu, and I'm going to go for a 2:3 ratio because that's a standard image ratio and what we're used to seeing. So I'm going to drag that out, and then once I have the largest guide I can then refine the composition. So I'm just going to bring that down slightly. So there is my shot, and if I just hit enter on the keyboard, that will commit to that crop. So we've got a bit of a crack line here, and this is purely because the image is still in layers with the masks that blend them together. So we just need to go to the menu at the top of the layers panel, which has popped up outside of my window here, but I'm going to go down to flatten image, and then the crack disappears. And that is how easy it is and how effective Photoshop is at creating vertical panoramas.